In Washington D.C, protesters last night defied curfew to continue demonstrations at the White House despite a major military presence. CNN correspondent Boris Sanchez joins me from that city now. Boris, have the protests remained peaceful today?
Yeah, they have. We're seeing a very, very different scene than we have over the last few days here in the nation's capital. I want to show you Lafayette Park. This is an area just outside of the White House, typically full of people, full of demonstrations. Over the last few days, it's been full of National Guard and military police, law enforcement officials, head to toe in riot gear, making ominous formations. Yesterday, they were actually about halfway down this block. They forced the protesters out of this intersection. Over the last few days, we'd seen clashes between police and some of the protesters. Yesterday, a very different story. There was a curfew here in Washington, D.C. Originally, it was 7 p.m. earlier in the week. Last night, it was 11 p.m. It came and went without incident. Many of the protesters, as 11 o'clock came, kneeled right in front of the law enforcement officers in riot gear. They were chanting. They stayed until about 3 a.m., eventually dispersing. That's when the military police and many of their military vehicles also picked up and left. And this morning, it's mostly quiet. There's just a handful of Secret Service agents beyond the gate, none of them in riot gear. Though I can tell you that this fence that is typically not here at Lafayette Park, it's about 8 feet tall and wraps around the entire thing, has been reinforced and expanded in some areas. Other than that, though, it's relatively quiet.
Just remarkable how different it looks where you are compared to what we've been seeing. Now, Trump has backed his law and order stance in a television interview. Let's have a look at that.
The nation needs law and order because you have a bad group of people out there, and they're using George Floyd, and they're using a lot of other people to try and do some bad things. And what we do, and we have it totally under control. We brought in the National Guard. We took care of it. Now it's very good. Yeah, we need healing, but we also need strength, and we need toughness, and we need law and order. We need it all, but we do need healing.
Boris, military leaders have criticised Trump's use of force. What have they said?
Yeah, well, at least one former military leader in the Trump administration, and that's General James Mattis, Mad Dog Mattis, criticized the president harshly in a statement yesterday, saying that the president doesn't even pretend to try to unite Americans, that he just seeks to divide. He compared him unfavorably to troops that landed in Normandy during World War II. The president responding in the way that he usually does via Twitter, essentially calling this former general, who was his Secretary of Defense, a loser, somebody who he praised repeatedly for years. The president's current Secretary of Defense also in hot water with the White House. The sources telling us that the president and other officials were unhappy because Mark Esper contradicted the president yesterday, saying that he did not want to invoke effectively the articles of insurrection that would allow the military to interfere more broadly in American cities where these protests, where this unrest was happening. That the president did not like, because he was talking about invoking that Insurrection Act. Ultimately, the president, though, unclear if he's going to get rid of Mark Esper and replace him with somebody else.
Okay, thank you so much, Boris, for your time.